The recruiting wave has subsided just for a second. So this is going to be an all countdown podcast.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA's radio network. Luke Robinson, that's me. And Bama Online's Jimmy Stein, that's him. And this episode is brought to you by Gametime. And we're going to talk about Gametime here in just a few minutes. And thanks for making this first listen every single day. Jimmy, we're going to just get straight into the countdown again because now we're into the 20s. This is a fun, what a fun time to be alive. 29 is DaShawn Jones. This kid just transferred over from Wake Forest. And I'm going to tell you, I think you're going to get some blowback on this one. Although I guess the blowback should have already happened because, I mean, he was either going to, now that we're in the 20s, he was going to be 29 or higher. But 29 seems kind of high for Wake Forest transfer at quarterback. But I want you to explain yourself. That's it.
Well, I would project DaShawn Jones to be a starting cornerback at Alabama. I believe he'll be a starter opposite Damani Jackson. He is experienced. As we know, there's 6 cornerbacks on scholarship at Alabama this year, and only 2 of them have played in games. Just Damani Jackson at USC and DaShawn Jones at Wake. The other 4 are all freshmen. 3 of them are true freshmen, and one's a redshirt freshman and Jaleel Hurley. But I think DaShawn Jones will start at corner opposite Damani. Now, he's going to get pushed by Xavier Brown, especially maybe Zay Mincy. But I think he's going to be the starter and probably all year. I mean, now I'm all for one of the freshmen being so good you can't keep him off the field and play. But DaShawn's been a 2-year starter at Wake, led Wake Forest with 3 interceptions last year. Real physical player. I think his best trait as a corner is his physicality, even though he did come up with the 3 picks and he can play the ball. But he's a really good hitter. Smart guy. You know, Wake recruits, doesn't recruit at an SEC type level. They sign mostly, I guess, what we would call 3 stars, and DaShawn was sort of that guy, right? But DaShawn, Wake recruits a lot of guys with good grades, good kids. That's DaShawn. I mean, this is a stand-up dude. Again, 3 picks. 2-year starter. He actually started against, I think they played Missouri in a bowl 2 seasons ago, and DaShawn's a starter in that game. I think he had an interception in his first year as starter. He has 2 years of eligibility left. That's important too. He's a redshirt junior, so he has 2 years of eligibility left. Now, I'm not saying he's great or he'd be higher. If he was great, he would have been, applying for the NFL draft and not entering the transfer portal. But I think he wants to play on a bigger stage. That's why would he leave Wake where he was a starter? Bigger stage, better competition, wants to prove himself against SEC receivers and just be on the platform that Alabama provides. But I have him, on the one hand, higher than Luke and some of y'all thought, at 29. But on the other hand, he's also one of the 22 projected starters, at Alabama. Wasn't here in the spring, transferred post-spring. So he's going to have to beat out some of these guys that were here in the spring. But I believe he will. I think ultimately his age and experience will win out, and this is your starting cornerback opposite Damani Jackson.
And a lot of positives in there. I mean, he did start for a Power 5 team in a Power 5 conference. It's not like the ACC doesn't throw the ball around. I mean, they have obviously Clemson and Florida State in that league. I mean, those are teams that have been to the playoffs or just missed the playoffs recently. NC State and North Carolina have certainly been a lot better too. Miami, though schizophrenic, can be good at times. His stats last year, 37 total tackles with only 27. I say with only, I mean, I guess it's actually pretty good. 27 of those being solos. You're right on the 3 interceptions. I think there's a lot to like here. I'm happy for him that you consider him the 29th best player on this team. It kind of worries me about us that we think he's the 29th best player on this team.
Well, I think a lot of people at this particular position are very excited about the true freshmen. They want to see Xavier Brown there, or Zay Mincy, or Jalen Mbakwe in that spot. And I get that. And hey, I hope so. I hope that we have freshmen beat out both DaShawn Jones and Damani Jackson. That'd be great. I'd be 100% for it. Best player plays. And I would love to see the 5-star true freshman win spots. I just saying, in my experience, the older, more experienced players are more ready, and the freshmen are going to need a little bit of time. For instance, I thought Xavier Brown, for instance, who was great all spring and was a first-team corner all spring as a true freshman, sort of struggled a little bit on A-Day. I don't think he showed on A-Day that he was ready to be a starting corner in the SEC going up against Alabama's starting wide receiver group like he did on A-Day. But I think in time he's going to be not fantastic, not just good, but fantastic. Might take a minute. That's why Alabama went to the portal to get some experience. And that's that. And I have DaShawn here. I have him at 29 and not in the top 22, even though he's a projected starter, because I am holding out that, hey, it's not certain that he's going to start. I don't think it's a certain thing. I think it's very possible that one of the younger freshmen beats him out. Those 5-star freshmen are probably more purely talented, but again, it takes a while to adjust to playing in big-time college football. Like you pointed out, I know it's the ACC and not the SEC, but he's playing against some good players. I mean, there's a quarterback in that league that was the number 3 pick in the draft.
Yeah, definitely. And let's hope that he's beaten out, not because of what he doesn't do, but because of what one of the freshmen does do. I think that'll be crucial. I mean, if one of the freshmen is forced into duty, that is different than they're earning that particular spot. And so let's hope that's the way that goes down. Jimmy, we're going to keep going with the countdown and maybe give you a few little odd and end news things. There's not a lot out there right now in terms of like last week where there's a flurry of commitments, but there was a couple of little interesting tidbits, including one about Alabama's newly committed kicker. Right now, though, I'm going to tell you about Gametime. Y'all know I love Gametime. I don't even look at the live read anymore. I've told you that a million times. Go download the Gametime app. Use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off that first order. That's LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off that first order. And these prices are already so low, you'll be like, how am I getting $20 back off of this? It's crazy. That's just crazy talk. And look, my son, I'm out here in Arizona right now. That's why I look a little disheveled. But my son works for the Arizona Diamondbacks this summer. And I was talking to him about Game Time. He goes, yeah, a lot of people know about it. I mean, it's really a great app. He's used it. I've used it. I used it for him to send him to the World Series recently. Used it for college basketball, college football, NFL, NBA, all these different things, college baseball. And it's so easy. It's so quick. You will absolutely love this app more so than the other ones. There's no doubt in my mind because I do. And you should go try it out. The Gametime app is absolutely fantastic. You can see where your seat's going to be. You won't be disappointed. They just are the best. The customer service is fantastic. I promise you I've had to use it. So go check out the Gametime app. Download code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off that first order. You know, I said that there was some news on the kicker. I didn't mean to tease it that hard. What I was going to say was he kicked a 65-yarder into the wind, and it was rolling around on Twitter. Now, there was no rush. There was none of that. But kicking a field goal 65 yards into the wind, I don't care if you're getting rushed or not, that's really impressive. And so Peter Nataro, who, again, I went to high school with his mom. I'm going to try and talk to her and see what I can find out, and maybe try and.
She's going to say, he kicked a 65-yarder into the wind.
Yeah, I'm like, thanks, Mom, who's not even as quick as Twitter. Yeah, but he seems like he can be a problem for other folks. So I'm excited about his joining the Crimson Tide roster and being on this list.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with kicker after the season. We all know Graham Nicholson will be Alabama's kicker this fall, and he's going to be fantastic. We already know that's the beauty of the portal and getting a player that's played college football and it's a kicker, And it's not like he's got to adjust to a new league like the other positions, right? I mean, it's the same. Still don't get to use a tee. Uprights are still, same width apart. It's the same thing for the kickers. I mean, there won't be an SEC adjustment for him, but there might be an adjustment in terms of pressure. I mean, there's 100,000 people in the stadium. There's millions watching on TV. It's the biggest games in college football. Let's see how he responds to that. But I have every confidence in the world that Graham Nicholson will be great, but he's a one and done dude. I mean, he's off to the NFL or trying to play in the NFL when this season's over. And then Alabama will be right back looking for a kicker. Could it be Peter Notaro? Could it be him? Could it be Connor Talty, who is still on the team and on scholarship? And Talty will be an older, 2 years older than Notaro. So my guess is next spring will be a heck of a battle. Notaro v. Talty. It'll be one of those UFC cage fight things that I don't watch.
That does sound like the two names that would be involved in some kind of cage match.
Immediately came to mind. Notaro versus Talty. Luke's high school girl. Son of Luke's high school girlfriend. Look at me starting rumors.
Y'all want to get some NIL money? Just get in a fight in a cage. That'll get you some NIL money. Somebody will sign up for that. Okay. Let's move on to one of Alabama's favorite players of all time, Devonta Smith. Oh. No, not that one. I say that every time because I think that's a lot of people are going to say that. Devonta Smith, the cornerback, who from Ohio, we stole him from Ohio State. I mean, he was committed to Ohio State at one time. Seems like a leader. I don't really have anything to add in terms of, hey, this is what I think about his play, because he hadn't played very much. He's got 4 total tackles last year, 3 solo, 1 assist, and that's it in terms of stats. And all of those came in that UTC game last year when Alabama won 66-10. So, I mean, there's not a lot you can say, oh, this is what he has shown me on the field. I mean, you really hadn't had that opportunity to show anything. He's about plus or minus the same size as the previous guy we just spoke of, at DaShawn Jones. 6 feet, 192 pounds, plus or minus. Check with him later in the day. He may have gained a few or lost a few. Who knows? But I'm with you on this one, where I was sort of questioning ranking DaShawn Jones with a lot of unknowns. I'm pro Devonta Smith being in here, right here, with some unknowns, because he's been here for a while. He knows Alabama. He knows the culture, and he knows what's expected of him. So I'm expecting big things out of Devonta Smith this year.
Yeah, really bad injury luck. So what Devonta had. I mean, Devonta's going into year 4 and has never been a starter, has never played a lot, and almost all because of he's been hurt. A lot of people don't realize that last spring he had won a starting spot. And at fall camp, he was having a really good fall camp, by the way, and he was going to start at safety alongside Caleb Downs. That was going to be Alabama's 2 starting safeties, Caleb Downs and Devonta Smith, with Malachi Moore playing the star position. And then Devonta got hurt. He was replaced by Jalen Key, who became the starter the rest of the year because Devonta was hurt. I don't think Devonta returned able to play until Kentucky or UT Chattanooga. I mean, it was one of those 2 games late in the year where Devonta was finally able to return. And let me tell you, in years 1 and 2, he was competing for a spot. He showed up as a true freshman. He is a redshirt player, but he did not redshirt in year 1 at all. They thought this guy's a player. As a matter of fact, as a true freshman, he was a special teams player of the week 2 or 3 times. The staff was super high on him and thought, hey, here's a guy who has a good chance to start in year 2, competed, didn't quite make it, got hurt. Last year was so hurt. His redshirt year was actually last season. He played in less than 4 games. That's why he's a redshirt junior now and didn't redshirt as a freshman. He just didn't play in enough games last year because of the injury. So had Devonta never been hurt, we're talking about a multi-year starter at Alabama right now, or who knows, maybe he'd have already been playing pro football. What's special about Devonta in terms of like what makes him good? From what he was a cornerback in high school, recruited to play corner by Ohio State for one, and Alabama. but gets to Alabama and puts on some really good muscular weight. People that see Devonta in person are shocked. This kid is ripped up. So he's built like a safety, but he still has those cover skills that he sort of came to college with. So he's a good fit at this Husky spot. That's where he's starting in the new defense at the Husky position. And again, a physical cover guy. And I'll tell you, as a player, in terms of his style of play, reminds me a little bit of Malachi Moore, who was Alabama's starting, nickel corner last year. One last thing I'll throw in about Devonta for people that don't know him well. He's a great interview. Fans are going to love him. He's really, really smart. He's fun. He always has a smile on his face. I think he'll remind people a little bit of Terrion Arnold. I mean, in terms of his personality, just full of optimism, cheerfulness, great teammate, always something good to say, and he's fun and funny when he's interviewed.
I think anybody that can remind you of Terrion Arnold will put a smile on your face. I mean, that's one of the more personable characters to come through Alabama in a while, if you ask me. I mean, just somebody very approachable and genuinely loves people. So if Devonta Smith has those characteristics, I think that's certainly a wonderful thing. And that's one of the reasons I like him where he is on your countdown, because I feel like those kind of personality traits will lead to his being much more successful on the field.
Yeah, and one last, DeBoer has more of an open door policy with the media and the players and with the media and coaches. And I think one of the benefits that we're all going to enjoy, because it's been 17 years of Saban having everything on CIA lockdown, one of the things fans are going to enjoy is, I think, with NIL, which means players are more into getting in front of the camera and building a brand than ever before. But between that and DeBoer's sort of open door policy in terms of, hey, he doesn't mind as many players as possible talking to the media, our fans are going to get to know the players better than they have in years. And Devonta is going to be one of the beneficiaries of that. Fans are going to like him a great deal.
All right, Jimmy, one more segment. So that means one more guy on the countdown. And this defensive lineman is somebody, hey, he needs to step up this year if Alabama's going to reach the heights it wants to. We have come to number 27 on Jimmy Stein's world-famous countdown. And today, where that falls is on Marien Latham. Luckily, Marien Latham didn't fall on it because he's a huge man. But before I get into Marien Latham, let me tell you something funny. So I told you I'm out in Phoenix, and last night I was at the casino. I went to play in a poker tournament. I played some poker and then went to a poker tournament, and it ended kind of late, and that's why I look like crap. I think I finished 11th out of 66.
Look at that.
I think
Roll Tide.
Yeah, roll tide to me, but I get no money. So, yeah. So I stayed up till 1 o'clock in the morning, whatever time this is, which is not God's time, for no reason, and then got up to do this podcast. But what's interesting is I sat next to a guy. I had this shirt on. I shouldn't tell him myself, but I had this shirt on. And a guy was talking to me about Alabama. He said, I guess you don't like Mike Price very much, do you? And I said, I don't really have anything against Mike Price. I mean, whatever. I mean, he goes, he would have been awesome for y'all. I said, yeah, but I don't think it'd have been a fit culturally. He's like, y'all didn't give him a chance. I said, well, he did spend a bunch of university money at a strip club. And I just said it sort of flippantly. And he said, well, that's not what happened at all. He said, he invited strippers to his room and they stole his credit card. I was like, oh, tomato. Okay, whatever, And I was like, I don't think we could have given him a chance after that. If he had already won us 2 national championships, yeah, we'd figure out a way to get around it. But all he had done is have an 8A game where one team destroyed the other one 47-0 because he put all the starters on one side and all the B teamers on the second side. So anyway, I just found it kind of funny because this is a guy that actually does some coaching on a D or has on the D1 level. Younger guy, but now he's in D2 because he's like, man, the D1 stuff was just eating me up. He said he worked for, again, it's early in the morning. Who's the Jeff Banks? He said he worked for Jeff Banks, who was our special teams guy at one point. And I was like, boy, and he was like, yeah, when he's not coaching football, he's a pretty great guy. I know he's done some bad things. And I was like, Yeah, boy, you're a stand-up friend for guys who have strippers use their credit cards and steal their credit cards because they invite them in the room, and for guys whose wives have some kind of haunted house with their pet monkey that bit a kid. I was like, he was like, yeah, he was like, Banks did some other stuff too, but whatever. I just thought it was kind of funny. You never know who you're going to run into at a poker tournament. So
I have strong opinions about Mike Price in terms of like someone that never coached a game here. I think in retrospect, and I thought this maybe at the time or shortly thereafter, I think it would have been a recruiting disaster. I don't think
eventually, no doubt.
I don't think he ever would have recruited well enough to stick at Alabama.
To tell you how young this guy was, I said there was another guy whose wife went to Alabama, and he noticed the shirt too, and we were talking. Anyway, he was an NIU grad, so he was like, "Yeah, I got our claim to fame beating you in 2004. Was that 2003 or 4?
Three or four. Three.
Anyway, I said, yeah, culturally, it was never going to work with Mike Price regardless. I said, when he got off the plane to Alabama, all I remember is he was wearing a Schmedium members-only jacket or some knockoff thereof. And I said, no, this ain't going to work out too good. Just like when I saw Mike Dubose in his first press conference and his shirt wasn't tucked in. I said, no, this ain't going to work out too good. And but
it's all about the clothes to Luke. Luke judges them all on what they're wearing.
The guy I was talking to said, what's members-only jacket? And me and the guy whose wife went to Alabama and graduated in '89, we were like, yeah, it was a cool jacket for about a year and a half in the 80s, and it's not been cool since. So anyway, all right.
Got to be a member to wear it.
You gotta. Let's talk about Marien Latham. All right. Yeah. Jimmy, I mentioned that he's going to have to step up big time this year for Alabama to reach his goals. And here's my thinking on this. I mean, this is a guy that's going to end up being a starter, I believe. Last year, he played a lot of games. I mean, he played a lot of games, but he didn't play. I mean, I think he dealt with some injuries, and he only had out of 5 total games that he played in, 8 total tackles. Now he's not playing, a position that usually lends itself to having a boatload of tackles. 5 games, 8 tackles, with one of those games being UTC. And another one being USF, where they didn't give – I don't know. I just feel like I just need him to take a big jump from last year where he was 8 total tackles, only 2 solo, 1.5 sacks. Now, that caught my attention. I like that. But I don't know. I just need Marien Latham to pick it up a notch, but I totally agree with where he is on this list of yours.
Yeah, he's played quite a bit. This is also a redshirt junior. A lot of people like, gosh, it's been there forever. But that's because this guy, he was actually here for COVID, the COVID year. He's one of the few guys on the team that was here in 2020. So he's got a national championship ring. He was on that 2020 team. Then he redshirted in 2021. So he actually has another year after this one, because if he elects to take that COVID year, he could come back next year. But this guy's been on the team for a long time. Emerged this spring as the starter at the new bandit position, I think, which is a good fit for him at 275 pounds. I think this might be a better position for him than where he was playing under Saban, where he was undersized in the interior. But I think at bandit, he's perfectly sized as an edge setter in the run game, and also a guy that can get after the quarterback. As Luke noted, he did have a sack and a half a year ago. This is a good, solid player. No one's going to project that Marien Latham has day 1 or day 2 NFL potential. He's not that guy. But what we need him to be is just a solid SEC defensive lineman. And I think even though as Luke pointed out, he hasn't been statistically significant, he's played a lot of snaps over the time that he's been here, going all the way back to 2020. You add them all up, he's played some significant snaps. So this is an experienced, mature kid who's finally in a better position, I think, to contribute. Now, he's going to share this spot with LT Overton. I wouldn't be surprised to see Jordan Renaud or even Keon Keeley get snaps at Bandit this year. So he's going to share this spot, but he's probably the starter. He's the oldest kid out there and kind of a leader on the team. He's a guy who doesn't talk too much. He's from the country, real country kid. He's a good interview, too, in the sense that he's not talkative like Devonta or has a personality like that. He's just one of these kids that's immediately likable. Everybody from the South, y'all have met a Marien Latham. He is just a a quiet country kid. Yes sir, no sir. Just a good person. And he's somebody we should all be rooting for. That's exactly who he is. Somebody that's easy to root for. And I think now his redshirt junior year, as Luke said, I think it's his turn. And if he does have an NFL future, he does need to start showing it in the stat line. And I think that's going to start happening for him.
So you feel like this will ultimately end up being his last year at Alabama?
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't think his NFL stock will be the reason why. I mean, I hope so. I hope he just blows up and is like a day 2 pick. That would be great. But I think most likely he just has sort of a solid year, splitting time at Bandit, and shows that he deserves an NFL audition. Deserves a shot. Maybe that's as a 6th or 7th round pick. Maybe that's as undrafted free agent. And I think the question for him is, do you want to play another year of college football? You've been here since 2020. Do you just want to go ahead and give the NFL a shot? I think that might be very, very possible for him, that he just chooses to move on. But personally, my selfish hope, I'd like to see him back next year, because I'm all for as many 6th-year linemen as the rules allow. If he can come back and play for a 6th year on the defensive front, heck yeah, that's what I want for Alabama. Well, so I hope he shows something, Luke, this year where we're excited to have him back for year 6.
Yeah, and the thing about next year is we're going to be breaking in some key new pieces, and one of those is going to be quarterback. So you want to have as much experience everywhere else surrounding him. I know a lot of people think it'll be Ty Simpson. I do too. But I'm saying that he will still be a new starter, we believe. So let's try and get him as much experience and surround him with it as we can. But, Jimmy, that's going to do it for today's podcast. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Until then, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.